Charles, for the running of the first varsity men's heavyweight race. This is the Adams Cup. In the close lane, you've got Harvard College, the University of Pennsylvania, and Navy. This is the 77th running of the Adams Cup. I'm Travis Metz. I'm a coxswain, class of 1991. The beautiful Charles River Basin this morning, absolutely dead perfect conditions. Not even a whiff of breeze at the starting line, unlike the prior racing this spring. This promises to be an excellent race. The racing so far this morning has been of a very high quality. The JV race, the Navy and Harvard boats dueled right to the finish line, and with Harvard winning in the last 30 or 40 strokes. Navy had the better of Harvard in the 3V and the 4V races. University of Pennsylvania has been very aggressive off the line in all the racing so far this morning, so we can expect to see more of that. This is a Harvard crew that's ranked number 2 in the country. It's a Navy crew that's ranked number 9 in the country, a Navy crew that's had good success this spring. Very close loss at Princeton, and then has beaten Georgetown, UVA, Holy Cross, Cornell, and Syracuse. The Harvard varsity so far is undefeated this year, having beaten Cornell, Brown, and Princeton. And as is often the case, a very promising start to the season for Harvard. The boats are being aligned. We'll see the coxswain's hands being raised in a minute here. Adams Cup named after Charles Francis Adams, Secretary of the Navy for President Hoover from 1929 to 1933. The great-grandson of John Quincy Adams and the great-great-grandson of John Adams. He was Harvard class of 1888. He was the mayor of Quincy. He skippered an America's Cup defense in 1920. Unclear that he ever rowed by my research. His crowning diplomatic glory was at the Naval Conference of 1930, which is... We'll get back to the history in a minute. We have a countdown start going. 3, 2, 1. And they're off. Looks like we have a clean start. Harvard in close lane, then Penn, then Navy. Harvard looked like they had a little bit of challenge on the first two strokes, and now very clean, though. Very clean. You're looking across at the Cambridge shore. We'll be rowing right past the campus of MIT. Looks like Harvard has a seat or two right off the start. Navy in the far lane, and then Penn. This race may prove to be a little more challenging with the split between Navy and Harvard if it turns out that the Penn crew is off the pace. The two will be separated laterally by a fair amount. Harvard has, looks to our eye, 2 to 3 seats, maybe 4 seats. Hard to tell, as most experienced rowing spectators know. The angle tells you everything. This is a Harvard crew that is a highly international crew. A bunch of folks from Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Virtually a Commonwealth crew. In the 7th seat, you've got Parker Washburn. 119 through the first 500, nice fast pace. Does look like Penn has actually come back through Navy. Harvard with 6 or 7 seats on University of Pennsylvania. This Harvard boat is a little different than it was over the last few races. They've switched strokes. Parker Washburn now in the 7th seat, and his colleague Andrew Holmes on the stroke seat, and basically all the pairs have switched as well. So it's become a starboard stroked boat with a bucket in the 2 and 3 seat. Sitting in the 6th seat is a South African freshman. So as mentioned before during the freshman race, freshmen do now race, are eligible to race in the varsity boat. So Harvard by 1 length over Penn, or maybe 8 seats over Penn and 1 length over Navy. Starting to approach, coming into the 800-900 meter mark. This is where the Navy crews in the prior races have made a big move. Does look like Harvard is stretching out to the bow ball of the Penn crew. Navy crew another 2 or 3 seats behind. Going through the Massaf Bridge here shortly, so you're looking at the campus of MIT on the other shore. Behind us is the Boston shore. 2:45 through the 1,000. Harvard just sneaking up on the bow ball of University of Pennsylvania. It's a Harvard crew that's had very strong start to the spring racing season. Looking in control of this race at this moment. Harvard 36, a couple seats open water. You've got a couple of local guys in the Harvard boat. Parker Washburn in the 7th seat is the son of the coach at Phillips Academy. Penn's at 38, 37 and a half. You've got a gentleman from Belmont Hill in the Harvard boat. You've got 3 or 4 Australians, 1 New Zealand, and a Scottish guy. James O'Connor is in this boat. I believe he is in the bow seat or in the 2 seat. They've switched around the seatings here. His brother Sam graduated from Harvard last year, was in the Oxford boat that recently won the Oxford Cambridge boat race. Sam and his brother are from New Zealand. James has spent 3 years in the Varsity. Harvard looking comfortably in control of this race, can see Penn and Navy, able to design their moves based on what they see. 410 to 1500, you've got 450 meters to go, about 45 strokes. David Fuller, the coxswain from the Belmont Hill School in Boston. Harvard's at 36. Harvard is unlikely to go up here. Penn's at 38. Harvard unlikely to raise the rate much until quite near the end. Navy's at 39. Navy trying to grab a hold of Penn here. Very close race for second place. Harvard well in control in the first place into the last 25 strokes of the race. Harvard Varsity heavyweights with an unusual bucket in the 2 and the 3 seat. Harvard now stretching out probably 6 to 8 seats of open water. Harvard has now raised their rating to 38. Beautiful conditions here on the Charles. Penn's at 38. Appears to be holding off Navy. Navy 38. And Harvard in the last 10 strokes. Coming into the line. I can see it. Now. Harvard at 5:39. So Harvard retains the Adam Cup. This is the 14th straight win in the Adams Cup by the Crimson.